In the wild, there are many organisms that will return home to where they were raised for more or less the same purpose. One of them is this formidable group of fish. They traveled a very long way, winding against the current of the water to ignore their own safety to return home. This week, we're going to talk about salmon. The natives of the American continent called them hand-in-hand lightning. Because salmon's bodies are silvery, if they jump out of the water, it'll look like lightning striking the water. Demonstrate their energy and strength. The salmon is a fish with a strong physique. Its presence affects a lot from ecology to human culture. Explore other parts of their aquatic world through brief immigration until reaching the estuary, where they feed in brackish waters. Gradually, salmon evolved, developing salt pumps in their gills that allowed them to move from slightly salty, brackish water to complete seawater in the cool Pacific Ocean. Salmon are free to feed in the fertile ocean, but after about a year at sea, they will return to the river where they grew up. Salmon are anadromous species that migrate to breed. Their time at sea gradually increased, ranging from a few months up to 5 years, before finally returning to the river to bury their eggs under the gravel where they start life. Salmon play a key role in carrying nutrients from the ocean back to rivers and surrounding ecosystems. Although there are differences in some species, but in essence, they hatch, migrate, lay eggs, and then die. The salmon life cycle begins in fresh water. Adult salmon spawn in fresh water, where female salmon spawn thousands that are fertilized by male salmon. Spawning can occur in spring, summer, autumn, or winter, and depends on the salmon species. After spawning, the adult salmon dies, and its body provides nutrients to the freshwater ecosystem. Eggs are buried in gravel nests, called redds, and salmon can stay in their eggs for several weeks to months until they hatch. After the eggs hatch, they hatch into small salmon called alevins. Alevin has a yolk sac attached to his stomach. The yolk sac continues to provide nutrients as the alvein grows. For several months, alevin relied on his yolk sac and sheltered from the surrounding pebbles until it was large enough to swim away from red. After the alevins have completely absorbed the yolk sac, they become fried. After the fry leave their red, they look for food and try to avoid being eaten. During this stage, the fry may begin to move from fresh to salt water. Each species may spend a different amount of time developing before beginning its migration from freshwater to saltwater. At some point, the fry catch environmental cues and begin their migration to the sea. This migration requires the fry to undergo physical changes, allowing them to survive in the salty waters of the sea. At this stage, salmon is called smolts. They grow new scales, giving them a silvery color. This is the last time the salmon are in fresh water until they are ready to spawn. Once adult salmon begin migrating back to fresh water, their bodies undergo more changes to prepare for spawning. Spawning adapts to fresh water, changes its color, and some grow a hunched back or bent jaws. Salmon species can spend from 1 to 6 years at sea as they mature and grow into adults. As it grows in the ocean, salmon feed on small fish, squid, eels, and shrimp. When salmon are ready to breed, they migrate from the ocean back to rivers and freshwater streams to their spawning grounds. On their way, They may encounter raps, waterfalls, predators, and hydroelectric dams. As soon as the salmon reach their freshwater spawning grounds, the females dig gravel nests, and the life cycle begins again and dies shortly thereafter. In the ocean, some salmon remain in coastal waters temporarily. Others immediately migrate north in search of food. Salmon may spend one up to 7 years in the ocean. There is no definite time when salmon will live in the sea. Certain species have a more flexible life, while others are more rigid. Some fish may migrate far away, may stay in the river for a long time before spawning, and other fish may quickly return and spawn. Here are the different species of salmon and steelhead. The pink salmon is one of the fastest growing species of Pacific salmon after about 18 months at sea. Chum salmon are usually the last Pacific salmon to return to fresh water, to spawn after 3 to 4 years at sea. Sockeye salmon ripen and return to spawning grounds after 2-3 years at sea. Some may stay longer and return after 4-5 years. Steelheads can spend 1 to 4 years at sea. Chinook salmon can take 1 to 6 years to grow in the sea. Chinook salmon mature between the ages of 2 to 7 years. However, they are usually 3-4 years old when they return to spawn. Coho salmon remain at sea for about 18 months to 2 years and begin their migration back to spawning grounds to spawn. How they determine migration paths and what cues to follow. Salmon return to the river where they were born because they know it is a good place to spawn. They will not waste time looking for a river with good habitat and other salmon. Scientists believe that salmon navigate by using the Earth's magnetic field like a compass. When they find the river they came from, they begin to use smell to find their way back to their river of origin. They build up their odor memory bank when they start migrating to the sea as young fish. As soon as it reaches fresh water, hordes of salmon will stop eating. During the journey, their bodies will instinctively prepare for spawning. This moment is very sucking energy, as well as fat stores of muscles and their organs. Male salmon will develop a hooked snout, or hook, to announce dominance. After reaching the birth stream, the female will build a nest, a small depression between pebbles. This depression is made by the female by turning her body upside down and using her tail to remove small stones or pebbles. The male will fight with other males to fight for the female. The dominant male will approach the female as she will lay eggs, then release the egg and sperm at the same time. Fertilized eggs will settle behind the pebbles. The female will cover the nest with pebbles, then move upstream to lay eggs again. On different streams or branches of the river, they continue to do this until their energy runs out and they die. Salmon have very big consequences. They need more energy and strength to push them upstream against strong currents and even past waterfalls. They must do so quickly and together to avoid predation. Some researchers explain that the salmon with the largest and strongest size will occupy a leading position. These leading salmon will pave the way for the salmon behind them. Splitting the flow of water, so that the salmon behind it can save energy to continue the journey. In some cases, they migrate up to thousands of kilometers from the sea. They penetrate the landscape with great precision, find a safe route, and maintain the integrity of the group. Juvenile salmon that begin their migration from Hillier to the ocean will travel thousands of kilometers. They will cross several different geographical and climatic zones. At the beginning of his journey, small salmon are not yet able to know the combination, what conditions they will meet along their route. Small salmon will not know what they will encounter. During their journey to the sea, it is likely that small salmon live to adulthood. Their parents develop strategies or alternative paths to ensure the safety of their offspring through estuarine freshwater habitats up to the ocean. This alternative path is the history of life. Throughout the history of life, salmon has learned not to put all its eggs in one basket. A healthy river is like a maze, with many alternative paths that can reduce the risk of death. The more pathways available, the greater the chance for salmon to produce a new generation, because they can lay and fertilize eggs in many places. When one or more are inferior or degraded due to natural events or the work of human hands, the branching healthy river is reduced into a simple channel that has only a few alternative paths, forcing salmon to put more of their eggs in a narrow basket, resulting in an increased risk of inevitable death. Salmon have been live many organisms that will be provisions for young salmon for their long and dangerous journey. Adult salmon that forage in the ocean and migrate upstream in the millions is a remarkable ecological event. This is not only a reproductive migration to repeat the biological cycle for salmon, but also a recycling of energy for the surrounding ecosystem. Many species will eat salmon that have lost energy after a long journey, ranging from bears, otters, foxes, reptiles, to birds will feast on salmon. Then the decomposing salmon body in the water will release nutrients, improve aquatic biodiversity indirectly, increase the survival potential of the next generation of salmon. Salmon carcasses that decompose outside the river also benefit the surrounding organisms. The carcass will be decomposed by various organisms that will later fertilize the soil and be used by various plants around it. To friends who have provided support, thank you. Hopefully, what is presented in Daily Dreamland can bring benefits to all of us. Thank you for watching until this minute. I really appreciate all the support that friends give to Daily Dreamland. If you like the discussion of Daily Dreamland, like this video and share it, because like and share from you will help the development of this channel. See you in the next video.